all know everybody's programs and be able to provide a little bit more insight to our landowners. So without further ado, I am Seth Berrios. I'm the work in the CPLC branch here in Jefferson City at the Missouri headquarters, and I am the landowner services coordinators. Some of my main jobs and responsibilities here are to work on our cost share docket and get that work out to our field staff. So getting started here, we'll just start with some of the basics, some of the background. So this is our CPLC mission. Simply stated, our mission is still the same as it's always been. We're here to help Missouri landowners achieve their land use objectives in ways that enhance the conservation of Missouri's natural resources. And that's what we continue to do. Starting this branch and the division originally got started back around 2000 officially. So we're going on about 26 years now of work with landowners. So about every 5 years, our branch will do landowner surveys. These landowner surveys are important. We actually have a landowner survey out to our cooperators right now. Hopefully here in the next few months, we'll get some more information back and be able to update this. But in 2020, we had about 93% of our landowners continue to be satisfied with the assistance that our staff was providing. 94% believe that the practices recommended to them would help meet their objectives, and quite a few written responses praising staff. And this is important to us because this helps us to understand what the needs are for our cooperators, but also knowing that we are still continuing to provide the level of customer service that we expect our staff to provide to them. And so with this 2025 survey, hopefully we'll be able to still show the exact same numbers or better. So we'll talk about both private land and community conservation here real quick. But on our private land side of things, we have across the state, we have about 47 PLCs, 22 private land fisheries biologists, 24 private land foresters, and 4 wetland biologists and 4 area biologists. Now, the wetland biologists and the area biologists, they are stationed in each of the NRCS areas. And most of the PLCs are located in USDA buildings. There might be a few that work out of a different office, but most of them are in the USDA. But I encourage you all, if you have not met any of our fisheries biologists or our private land foresters, be sure to reach out. We will be encouraging our staff to reach out to introduce themselves so that you guys can be on a first name basis and to provide better coordination with our landowners. On the community conservation side of things, we have 16 community conservation staff that are dedicated to working with our communities. Now, these staff help to maintain partnerships in our urban areas and provide, the technical assistance that comes with area and community planning. For the most part, the bigger areas such as Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, and Springfield are where the majority of these staff are located. But they are available to assist with any communities across the state, even in our rural communities as well. So who are our customers? First and foremost is typically our recreational landowners that we have. These are folks that are buying land to either just own property or to maybe hunt and fish. But we do have a large number of production farmers that we assist with, and typically a lot of those are through our farm bill programs, but some of them are through our own cost share program. On our community conservation side of things, we are helping the municipal governments, the schools, universities, uh, and these are folks that are wanting to improve the green infrastructure within the communities, or just have an overall more aesthetic value placed instead of just mowing large landscapes across the property. So we're going to start here with our the cost share docket. It is the Landowner and Community Assistance Program. Now I'll probably just refer to it as LCAP from here on out, but just to give you guys quite some basic overview of it. The docket is administered on the state fiscal year, so it's very similar to what the soil and water is. When we work with those landowners, in order to provide them with with cost share, we do have to have objectives that are related to or meeting fish, forest, and wildlife benefits. And we will get into this here in a little bit, but we do have funding that is complementary to the soil and water programs, as well as working with NRCS programs. 100% of our funding for our cost share docket is commission funded. It is not federally funded. So, we don't have as big a budget as soil and waters. And so that's where, this program can really help out and be complementary to some of the state or federal programs where we can fit more niche markets or to help to piggyback on projects that are going through the SWCD or NRCS programs. So a couple key cost share points. We don't allow for multi-year projects because we are only appropriated on a year-by-year basis. We only know we have funding for that fiscal year, similar to the way soil and water operates. We don't allow it. Annual payment caps are, depending on the priority geography that the property is located in, can be between 10 or 18,000 per landowner per year. And we'll get into this priority geographies. I got a slide to show you on that. And our planners, the folks that are actively producing and filling out the cost share forms, is typically our MDC field staff or PFQF farm bill biologist. Now, that being said, we also do accept, written plans and such as our forest management plans or prescribed burn plans from our partnering consultants as well. So we can accept those, but typically our cost share is filled out by our staff or farm bill biologist. And also our docket is reviewed and revised annually, just so that it's not a stagnant document. We do review it, remove practices, add practices, change rates, and as well as policy every single year. So when I mentioned the tiered structure, so a lot of our cost share can, if it's on a percentage base, it can range anywhere from 50 to 90% cost share. But we do have, and this has started 8-10 years ago, maybe now, that we have utilizing a tiered approach to natural community habitat management, where we focus higher percentage rates on our tier 1 geographies. Now, going into some of the policy on our LCAP, if we are doing any timber felling or doing any prescribed fire of our woodlands, glades, savannas, we are requiring that the landowners, they do have to follow back guidelines. This is very similar to what the NRCS is requiring as well. So, and those back guidelines were provisions provided to us through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. All of our cost share does have to have a heritage review completed. And for the most part, this is just to help us to understand if we are going to have any impact to our to any animals or vegetation located on the landscape, and help us to understand if we are going to make an impact, what's the best way to mitigate for that impact. Our cost share, a lot of our LCAP practices, we do follow NRCS standards. And so again, not necessarily reinventing the book. This allows, if you are familiar with the NRCS standards, we're not trying to create something new here. And so this stays fairly consistent across the state and federal partners that we have here in the state. And lastly here is that we don't allow for cost share to be paid for projects that were completed prior than the cost share was allocated. So we have to have the cost share is allocated, then the project is completed, and then we will pay once the project has been completed. For the most part, majority of our practices, the maintenance periods are between 5 and 10 years in length. There are a few practices where we get down to 1 year in length. That may be something like disking or writing a forest management plan. But for the most part, they are all between 5 and 10 years in length. We will come out and do status reviews during that maintenance period. There's the old saying that a lot of people still have it, that if MDC stocks a pond, we allow the whole public, you have to allow the public to fish it. And that's simply not the case. And neither is this. If we help out with cost share on a property, it does not allow the general public access to the property. It's still a private property. We also don't allow for land use conversion while in the during the maintenance period. For this, really, we don't want to see, we don't want to be thinning the timber heavily and thinning it, and then turn around and turn out a lot of cattle into that forested stand, nor spray out, say, an old field to kill out the vegetation, only to turn around and establish, and put in row crop. And then lastly, down there, and this is no different than the other partnering staff, we do require POAs. So if there's more than one owner on the property, on the title, we either need to have all of the folks signing it, or if one person is going to be the executor, then we need to have a POA acknowledging theirs. And MDC, we do have our own POAs that we provide to landowners. So in the FY26 docket, it's, for the most part, we're not going to go into every single practice here, but we do have some lumpings of how we have our cost share practices categorized. Our 100 level practices, those are aquatic management. That's going to be stuff like stream bank stabilization or wetland development. Our 200 level practices is herbaceous. So that's where we're going to get into spraying out existing sod to establish native warm-season grasses and forbs. It's also got some of our disking and things like that practices in that. Our 300 level practices is our woody vegetation management. This is going to be where our timber stand improvement practices are held, as well as our brush control and glade restoration practices are going to be. Our 400 level practices are the as it says right there, it's fire. So this is going to be where we have grassland and our woodland prescribed fire practices. Our 500 level practices, the ag natural resource stewardship practices, that's going to be things such as fencing, alternative watering, fencing out sinkholes, reinforced stream crossings. Our 600 levels is our natural resource planning. This is where we're going to have plans are going to be written for forest stewardship plans, prescribed fire. Now, our 700 level practices, those are kind of um, the oddball practices that we want to try to test. Maybe we have a new practice that is that we'd like to try to test, see the landowner interest in it, or just see if it could work. And so that's our conservation pilots. Currently, under that, we have a cordwood incentive where we're actually paying the contractor if they're going to go in and harvest cordwood on private land to help to restore, whether it be a glade or a woodland. That practice will allow for those contractors to reap a little bit more money off the land. And what's really targeting is reducing fuel loads there, so we can come back in and burn it. The 800 level practices, that's where we're going to get into our herbaceous and woody invasives spraying. And this also has for different types of treatment for the tools. So whether it be backpack spraying, running off of an ATV, or even helicopter treatments. And then our 900 level practices, that's our community conservation. So that's where we can assist with their communities, those schools and municipalities. All the practices that are basically through the 100 to 800 level practice are all within the 900 level cost share in there. Because so on our community conservation, we can do things such as prescribed burning, native grass and wildflower establishment. We can do aquatic management around some of our community lakes. We can do invasive treatments. We can help assist with critical risk tree removal, tree planting, or pruning, or even having assisting with the development of a management plan in those communities. So the thing that's probably going to benefit us the most in this group here is the practice that benefit livestock producers. We look at chemical control when we convert to natives, then it would be our practice to establish native forages such as big bluestem, Indian grass, switch, or gamma grass. And all that, and those do have to be native. They do have to be Missouri or local source geography here. We also assist with prescribed burning and invasive species treatment. And again, while we are working with the producers, we also still need to have a fish, forest, and wildlife objective and the associated management plan that goes along with it. Within the 500 level practices, we mentioned that watering systems. We can do spring development, fencing, and also the deferred haying and grazing within some of that. But I want to stress here that while we do offer the cost share for the watering systems, the spring development, fencing, we do encourage landowners to utilize the soil and water program first. Those are typically going to that program's typically going to pay better than what we will. We can also some of our policy here is that we need to we can pay on components that the soil and water won't. Moving into FY25, looking at practices on the private land side, so what we call the rural side, timber stand improvement, invasive species control, and woodland prescribed fire were the three most commonly used practices as it relates to dollars spent. And our within the here with then I'm going to mute everybody. Within our community conservation, removal of those high risk trees that are a threat to human life or property. Also, the tree planting projects is part of our objectives within community conservation. We don't want to lead and contribute to the removal of trees across the landscape in our communities. And so what we have done is move to a 2-for-1. So we do, for every high risk tree that is removed, we do require 2 trees to be planted back in its place. Not the exact same spot, but within the community. And then the third one was there of pruning up trees to well, for the overall health of the tree and location. So we're going to look at the timber stand improvement, the 3 top practices that we had, and just want to kind of go through this. You know, to do a timber stand improvement, we do need an inventory. Now, it could come from a forest management plan or a individual stand plan. Those plans do need to address basically, you know, what the current conditions are and what the future conditions are, you know, and really kind of spell out what the overall objectives are here. The rates, the cost share rates, they do vary by tier and then the level of basal area or trees per acre that are being removed. We need a map of the project location. This just helps us to know where on the property that the cost share practice is being taking place. I do ask that everybody keeps their mics muted, please.
Seth, you got muted.
Apologize for that. I don't know how that happened. But the I'll just kind of back up a little bit. I don't know exactly where I left off, but so the properties we do need an inventory addressing, you know, the current stand conditions and what the future conditions are. That could be the forest management plan or a stand specific plan. But the rates will vary by tier, whether it's, you know, and I showed you guys the tiers 1 through 4, or if it's in the other geographies in that white space, those rates do vary, as well as the rates do vary based off the level of basal area or trees per acre being removed. We require a map of the project location, and that just helps us to know where on the property that the project occurred. When the project is completed, we do need to know where those inventory points were, as well as the residual basal area for those. So that way we can verify that the level of reduction was met. And also as mentioned before, we do have to follow all the BAT policies that are set forth, whether that from the state, from our state guidelines of basically a no take, or the federal policies that are handed down to us through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, through our their HCP. So next is our invasive species control. Again, we just need to have a management plan. What the issue is, what the desired outcome is. Again, rates vary by the tier and the type of application, whether that's backpack, ATV, or helicopter. And then we also need to know a map of the project location. Now, we can spray out in crop or pastures that are being hayed, but those pastures should have a management plan or a haying or grazing plan associated with them that will help to benefit fish, forest, and wildlife. Typically, if a field is being grazed to the nub and there's invasives out there, we typically should not be helping to assist with those invasive sprayings. Our woodland prescribed fire, just the same as with our forest timber stand improvement, we do have to follow BAP policies on that. It has to have a prescribed burn plan that is approved by an MDC burn boss. Our plans should be written by approved staff that meet our burn guidelines. So there are components to our burn plans that we need to have in the burn plan. So if a contractor wants to write it, that's fine. However, they do need to meet our standard map. And then within that map, that burn plan, the project map will be should be included in there, so we know where the project was completed. Now, moving on here to away from the docket a little bit, but still tied into it, is our Habitat Challenge grants. So these are cooperative agreements that we have with partners such as QWF, PFQF, or the NWTF. So Quail and Upland Wildlife Federation, Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, or the National Wild Turkey Federation. The MDC and those local chapters for those organizations will match funds 50-50. This helps to extend MDC dollars and also extend the chapter funds to get more habitat on the ground in those participating counties. Now, the funds are limited to the participating chapters. So if a chapter doesn't, not all chapters participate in the challenge grants. There's only a select few that do across the state, and also that the funds are not they're not how do I want to put this? Well, I'll go on. I'll come back to that, but apologize. The practices are based on LCAP. However, not all the cost share practices are available. What this means, and just like the cost share docket, when we pass out the docket to the regions, while all the practices are available, the regions can accept to utilize. Similar to the soil and water, some of our regions can decide not to utilize all of the practices that are available within the docket. Same way here within the challenge grant, there may be practices that are not highly needed within that the chapters want to pursue, and so not all practices are available. In FY26, we had about $118,000 in chapter matching, totaling about $236,000 for habitat work. And this is money that the local chapters are bringing to the tables, which is a great thing. Another way that we assist with getting cost share out there on the ground is through the conservation equipment program. Here in the last few years, a number of SWCDs around the state were able to purchase no-till drills, harrows, disc, and other seeders to help assist landowners getting conservation work done on the ground. And this has been a very popular program, and a lot of great work getting put out there on the ground. Another way, when we try to get work done out on the ground, when it comes to prescribed fire, there's only so many burn contractors around the state. But if there's not a lot of burn contractors in your area, we do have the Prescribed Burn Association. Those burn teams the landowners might be able to join up with those groups, pay part of the membership fee, and then learn how to do prescribed fire with others, as well as these burn associations can help to get fire done on their property as well. So it's a win-win situation, working cooperatively with neighbors. Another program that we have is the Missouri Outdoor Recreational Access Program, or MRAP. Basically, this is for walk-in hunting. Many of our other states, such as Kansas, got quite a bit of walk-in hunting land. And so this is a voluntary program that we pay landowners to open their property for walk-in hunting. There's a number of different options that landowners can sign up for, whether that's open hunting or just hunting. Maybe it's only archery hunting, youth hunting, public fishing, or just wildlife viewing. And this is paid. This is not a commission funded program. This funding is funded through the USDA's Voluntary Public Access and Habitat Incentive Program, the VPA program. So it is used. It is really, for the most part, will be targeted at a lot of more northern Missouri, is where a lot of the properties are. But certainly you can get on our website and locate the properties where they're at so that landowners and residents in your area may have more outdoor opportunities. And on our website and stuff, we can provide the different information we can provide landowners, whether it's through the application, getting them the flyer to help to understand the program, as well as all the Q&A that they may have here. As far as the information to the public, we do provide all the rules and procedures, because they're, being private land, there are some stipulations that come with this. Geo-reference PDF maps to help basically navigate your way through the properties, and then the interactive mapping tool. If anybody wants to know a little bit more, they can go to our website and look at it, the MRAP page, or contact our MRAP crew leader, Abby, for more information there. So as I mentioned earlier, we do work cooperatively with both NRCS and Soil and Water to get practices on the ground. One of the ways that we work with NRCS is through the RCPP program, where we apply for the different grants that are available, or we have different proposals and get projects selected through there. And we have a few that we have across the state right now. We'll go through those here. Starting in the Boot Heel, we do have the Sand Prairie Restoration RCPP. Now, this project is really focused on restoring and protecting our remnant sand prairie communities through voluntary perpetual easements, and these easements are held through USDA. Currently, we have about 4 properties that are enrolled with enough funding to add about 1 or 2 more easements. The next RCPP is the Precision Farm Data and Strategic Buffer. You can just call this the Precision Ag RCPP for short. This is in 7 counties, kind of in that north central or kind of west central part of the state. Really, what this RCPP is targeted doing is looking at precise farm, real-time farm data and identifying those marginal or non-profitable acres, and then establishing them to field borders or pollinator habitat to help landowners maximize profitability. And those are paid at those acres or have a $300 per acre incentive for those. Lastly, here is probably the newest one. It's the Quail and Grassland RCPP. It is offered statewide. Now, this is not, MDC is a partnering organization, but we are not the lead organization on this RCPP. That is the MBGI Foundation. This was about $9 million was made available last summer to landowners, paying about 90% of cost share. However, at this point, the majority of those funds have been already allocated. Landowners may or may not get accepted at this point. But the RCPP does pay for the most part, it's quail-friendly practices, whether that's grass or forb establishment, maybe deferred acres, whether it's on crop ground or cover crops, management activities such as prescribed fire or disking, or spraying invasives. And then lastly is some of the woodland thinning practices that can help restore some of those open woodlands. Moving on to our soil and water partnership programs. We have a number of them here. Is our Native Grass Partnership Program, the Native Forage Initiative, the CRP Monarch Incentive, and the CRP Enhancement Incentive. Now, I'll go through all 4 of these, but please understand that the CRP Monarch Incentive and the CRP Enhancement Incentive are both, the money's run out there, but I still want to discuss those just because if we can get more money into those incentives, then we can continue with them. But as of right now, there's no funding in these 2 incentives. So with the SWC programs, it's fairly straightforward. It's a 1-page contract. The MDC PLC or the farm biologist will fill them out. And then the project will be completed. Following the completion of the project, the PLC or the farm biologist will certify out those practices are completed, and the payments are final payments are approved by the Soil and Water Conservation Boards. The applications they are all sent to and managed by Jim Bosher with the MASWCD. The emails there. Most of you guys probably know Jim. But he manages the funds and the payments for these practices. And then, if you do have interested producers, just reach out to the private land biologist or the Quail Forever biologist to initiate the planting. When they're, and these are programs, these partnership programs, they're targeted to going above and beyond what the soil and water can pay on some of their programs. And so we're just basically piggybacking on top. So the Native Grass Partnership Program, it works in partnership with the Soil and Water District, as I mentioned. The SWCD docket only goes so far, and so we can provide an additional incentive to encourage producers to convert to native grasses and forbs. Program is available statewide, but it's only the funding is only eligible for the purchase of native grasses, forbs, legumes, and alfalfa, and those cover crops that have a wildlife-friendly rating. Because this is run through the soil and water, the policies are running off the docket, the SWCD docket. All of the cost share practices must be followed and applied. And then again, our private land conservationists and the planner will work together, or the farm bill biologist worked with those SWCD planners to develop the seeding plans. Now, some of the different practices for the establishment that we can pay on, and these 5 here have different rates associated with them. We can assist with going above and beyond to plant 3 species of native grasses. Maybe it's a native forb interseeding, 3 species of native grasses and alfalfa, 3 native species, and 2 pounds of forbs. That is a 5 species mix. Or using an additional incentive to use Missouri source identified seed. That is just to ensure that the species being planted are locally sourced and have the best chances of establishment and survival. This can also pay and assist with the fencing and the species establishment behind those buffers, those buffers behind the fencing. And so we can assist further with that on top of what the soil and water's paying. Now, the Native Forage Initiative, this is one that's actually, the Native Forage Initiative is a USDA kind of EQIP program. However, we work with the Soil and Water District to, they provide the payment for an incentive, and it's $100 per acre incentive. So any of those NFI projects that are located within any of our grassland and quail focal landscapes, you can see them, the map here, any of those acres, that $100 per acre incentive is available to them. As mentioned here, the CRP incentives, now these don't have funding available as right now, but I do just want to bring them up just so that you're aware of them should we get more funding available. The CRP Monarch incentive, this is a payment to landowners when they sign up for these various practices. There's right now there's not those sign up incentives, so this is paying a small rate for when landowners sign up for both the CP9s, the CP23, the 33, the 38, those safe practices, the 42s, 43s, and then CP2, establishment of native grasses. Again, they have to be located within these blue counties, these about 55 counties here across Missouri. And then with that, there's also the incentive to enhance the seed mix that is currently being required. And so we can assist with additional funding on top of to further enhance the seeding mix that was already required from them. With Additionally, some of the management within those counties within that CRP Monarch incentive, we can assist with prescribed burning of those acres, as well as getting a prescribed burn plan written. Now, please note that all the CRP policies, apply. If there's going to be additional management on those CRP acres, FSA does need to be notified, and then the conservation plan needs to be updated. The CRP enhancement incentive, this is really just to help go above and beyond what is required of landowners who are enrolled in CRP. But these enhancements are only available again in these quail landscapes, these priority grassland geographies. So what is available here? There is incentives here for edge feathering, for down tree structures, a herbicide application when applied to the grass that's underneath of shrubby cover or the edges of those woody draws, prescribed burning of those CRP acres. If there's an interest in enhancing the native forbs species that are located within the CRP, as well as going above and beyond planting additional covey headquarters or shrub plantings. So that concludes that. As far as our partnership positions, folks that are we have out there on the landscape helping to promote our practices, whether it's MDC practices or challenge or LCAP, the challenge grant, or farm bill programs, and hopefully now the soil and water programs. We have quite a few pheasant forever, quail forever biologists across the state. We have MFGC partner positions here in the state working with our producers. We have a couple NDAs, the National Deer Association outreach specialist. We have DU, so Ducks Unlimited wetland techs and specialists, both focusing on upland and bottomland ground. MFA cooperative position, focusing on grazing and native grass establishment. And I was also a Missouri Soybean Association cooperative position, working with producers around the state on conservation practices. So just a quick reference here, the different kind of practices that are offered, just kind of lumping them here under LCAP. We have a private land cost share. We have our community conservation cost share. And then we have the Habitat Challenge grants, and that's just because they follow the LCAP docket. The MASWCD, the soil and water incentives, the Native Grass Partnership, the Native Forage Initiative, CRP, and the enhancement in the CRP Monarch. And then the RCPPs were the Sand Prairie, the Precision Ag, and then the Quail and Grassland Habitat. And then the last program that we have available to landowners, if they so choose, is to enroll their property in the MRAP program. So I know it's kind of a quick, hour-long presentation on what we have to offer. Is there any questions? See if I can pull up chat. All right. So, Mike, the BAT guidelines. So landowners. So we just our BAT policy, the way it was written, it splits out the policies for both public land and private land. So yes, there are some differences there as far as back guidelines go, but that's just the way it is. And so we do have different policies related to public land versus public land management. Looks like Lisa, sorry, you already applied to that. Questions furthering on. Okay, well, we don't have any, there's no other questions. Does there anybody else have a question they've got? How do we recommend staying informed on these programs? So what I would recommend is make sure that you're reaching out to your local MDC staff and staying engaged. They should be contacting you if you're in the solar water offices or the NRCS offices. They should be there engaging with you and having those conversations about what's available. I do think that, and I may be, if I'm remembering right, we had talked about maybe trying to provide this kind of presentation every few years or something, just to kind of get people connected back. It may be old news for some, but for those that are newer staff, this may be beneficial program information that you need to know about. Any other questions? All right. Well, hearing none, I appreciate everybody's time today. I thank you all very much. And when we get this saved out on a location, we'll send out an email to where this is being recorded at. And then I believe here next up in next month is NRCS's turn. So please be anticipating that. That should be a good one as well. So thank you all very much, and you guys have a great day.